So let's go around as we wrap up. I would love to hear from you guys a couple things. First, just any learnings or anything that stand out to you or have surprised you about the last 99 episodes. But then you have to answer the question, what is it? Bill Burr said you wouldn't know what it is until you do 100. What do you think we are? What is this thing that we started? Who wants to start?
I would say for me that my answer is kind of the same. It runs together for both of those. That what I've learned from going back like through this whole chunk of episodes and watching pieces of each one, um, is just how important this podcast has become for me.
Hmm.
Um, at first, it just seemed like, I mean, I was all in from day one. Um, but it was still kind of just this idea, and to say, hey, who knows if this thing fleshes out. But like I'm in as long as they are. So that was kind of my attitude. And it still is. But 100 episodes has been remarkable. And looking back on this and watching us shift, like I had said before, into the COVID recording via Zoom situation, and looking at us just a year ago, looking at how much fun we were having in each other's presence, has not only taught me a lot about how much I appreciate you two, um, but it has taught me about like how much an introverted person, still appreciates conversing with other people,
Hmm.
and being around other people, and how I could see like how different I felt then. Um, and I mean, it sounds cliche or overstated, um, but I feel like COVID, for a lot of people, and for myself included, uh, I feel like it's aged me a little bit. Like there's been some experience that, and there's been some tough thinking that I've gone through, and some good thinking that I've gone through. When we talked about uh, COVID, and getting out of the quarantine and that kind of thing back in the 50 episodes, um, we were talking about how much we've learned, and how much we hope that we and culture will hang on to the things that they've learned about the importance of their family, and how much they enjoyed those little moments of having a game night because nobody was going to soccer practice.
Hmm.
And um so I don't know, that this podcast particularly has taught me a lot of those lessons. And as far as what we are, again, for me, I had to kind of like look back, um, from a year, and see kind of what we were at that point, um, and then mix it in with some things that we've learned since then. So I think we are that first thing of three guys. The thing that we talk about, who like to just sit around and goof around, and what we want is to have good, real, genuine conversation, that's just normal, and we're not going to try to be polarizing, um, or anything like that. We're just going to try to be funny in the ways that we tend to be funny, and we're not going to try to contrive anything, um, in the hopes that people can be comfortable with it and can sit and listen and feel like that they're part of the conversation. Um, so we're that, and interviews. I think all three of us really enjoyed having guests, and I think all three of us, like, if given the opportunity, would have more guests, more and more. And for me, I feel like that our stride is somewhere in there of kind of like that Kellen Erskine episode of can we be just normal guys sitting around talking, chilling out, um, but do it with more interesting people. Not more as in like more interesting than the ones we've had, but do interesting people more often is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know what that is, what that looks like. Unfortunately, it looks like you're asking people to come on to a show and say, but we're not going to just really talk about you. We're just going to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that plays with trying to get guests on, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Beautifully said, man. That's really cool.
I, I I have a couple different thoughts swirling around the theme, but one of the things that I find interesting as I get older, I think about things that people tell you as you're growing up, but they don't ever actually explain to you. So there's a bit of an assumption that if they just say something like, as an example, find something that you're passionate about and do that. Um, what the part of the picture that somebody saying like that doesn't say is anything and everything you're going to do is going to probably be really hard. But find something that you enjoy doing so much that even though you know it's going to be hard, you're excited to tackle the challenge of it. And so I think that's how I feel about this. People don't explain things to kids. They just say the thing that everyone's always said. And so I think what I'm learning out of this is that I found something that I'm excited to tackle the challenge of, even when it feels difficult or daunting, because it still feels hard and it still feels challenging and it's still tough. The thing that one of the biggest things that has made this incredibly easier, not easy, but incredibly easier, is you both have also been committed. And so it makes it a lot easier when somebody says they're going to do something and they just do it and you don't have to worry about it. It's been so much fun, but so challenging. And I've been excited at every point to tackle new challenges that have come up, from figuring out social platforms and link trees and voicemails and hosting platforms and networks and social media throttling and engagement. And all of it has been challenging and exciting. And so that's one of the kind of big thoughts that I've had, is that have been swirling around this kind of moment. Um, and we don't need an audience to sit and enjoy each other's conversation, but the energy that we get from people, knowing people are listening and interacting, is incredibly important to help us keep doing what we're doing. So to anyone who's listened, the most sincere thank you, from all of us, I'm sure, but I'll only speak for myself, because again, we could just get together and hang out, but without an audience, and we would still enjoy it. But the thing that keeps you excited and motivated to solve problems are the people listening and interacting. The podcasting community as well has been an incredible resource and super encouraging and friendly, from everybody at the Odd Pods Media Network to friends of the show and people who are kind of spin-offs of other kinds of internet media, like Mike Watson and Grief Burrito. And, Kester has his own podcast, and all of those other people that swirl around through Discord and Twitch gaming and YouTube personalities. Like, everyone is super cool. And that's just been, like, I'm so excited to travel eventually again. And I'm thinking, we got to reach out to some of these people we know in other countries so we can connect with them, like Harrison and Jordan in Grief Burrito, and some of the I understood that reference guys, and the Blarney podcast, and like some of these guys in other countries that have been incredible. And so I can't answer the question, what is it, yet, but I'm still formulating that response. But I think it's, at this point, it's three guys who want to laugh and who want to make each other laugh and who want to enjoy interesting interviews. We're desperately trying to create the kind of content that we would enjoy if we weren't making it, and in a way that's digestible and not intentionally polarizing, because there's enough of that out there anyways. And so that's where I am at this point. It's incredibly fun. If I have an ask, please go support Artius Man. Please go do those things, but please keep interacting with us too, because it makes it way more fun, and it's super energizing, and we enjoy it anyways, but we enjoy it so much more as people interact with us on social media and leave us voicemails and texts. And the same for any other independent anything creator that's doing anything out there. Interact with them too, because I'm sure they're going to love it. But those are just some of the thoughts that I've had, as we've been prepping for this episode. So hopefully there's something coherent in there. But just a few things that I wanted to share.
It's really good. I'm loving this. I really like this this tone here. I think we maybe cut this out and make it a clip as well. Yeah, this started as an excuse for me to hang out with my brother more often, and we drug Kendall into it. And it was a different creative outlet, and something that would allow us to be silly and be man children and weigh in on the pop culture things that we cared about. Yeah. But it really did. It just started as an excuse to hang out and to ensure that life didn't pull us in separate directions. There's no way we could have known when we started it, but well before a global pandemic, that it would be sometimes the thing that got you through that week that you could look forward to when stuff was hard at home and you just wanted a platform from which to talk and have fun. And so yeah, I forget who brought that up the other day, Dylan, but we were like, man, this like sort of became this constant thing that we did every Monday night when the world was very topsy-turvy. And of course we have our families and our loved ones and our spouses that keep us centered. I don't want to suggest that this was our everything, but it was certainly one of the constants that we could look forward to. And when the world was turning upside down, I've learned a lot. I've learned I'm not as funny as I thought I was. Sometimes you hear an episode and you're like, man, what am I even trying to say? Communication. You guys know that I interview and facilitate for my day job. This has been wonderful, priceless practice for that, to have to put together a thoughtful story for each episode, make each sort of episode flow and make sense, kind of chronologically, to interview really smart people and try to come up with thoughtful questions to facilitate conversation. I usually find myself in the position of like being the segue guy and the, and so, and what does that mean? And great point. Have we thought about, I'm kind of doing that because I'm practicing for my day job, and it's a great place to do that safely. I always looked up to guys like late night show hosts and thought, man, they have the coolest job ever. They just get to have guests on and be silly with them and learn about them and edify them and make it about them, and then learn a lot in the process. And so that part of what we're doing, I didn't see early on, but that, like we've all said, was a piece that started to grow. So we had a shared note on our phones before we ever clicked record on episode 0. And we haven't changed this. Excuse me, I'm not getting emotional. There's just something in my throat. We haven't changed this since we started. But one of the facilitation tools I use with my customers is a scoping exercise. So you talk about, for any project or initiative, you say, what is it and what isn't it? So you're sort of framing and scoping what this project or initiative is. And so what we wrote down was, from the middle is conversational, it's fun, it's genuine, it's imperfect, it's loose, it's relaxed, and it's silly. It is not overly focused on negativity, sadness, or tragedy. It is not political, and it is not pretentious. And I think something hit me somewhere in the 50s or 60s episodes where I was like, there are a lot of really well produced podcasts that are basically like full on shows. And there are things that we would probably do differently if we were one of those. Like if our goal was viewership and more listeners and more reviews and to monetize and to make us, supplemental income from this, there are definitely things that we would do differently. But if our goal is to be all those things I just listed in the is category, and if this really is an excuse for us to just hang out, then I don't think we need to get distracted by some of those things that would be of higher production value and would probably get us more listeners and views. But it's like, do we really care about that? And so I think that's a question that remains. I think it's a hybrid of both. I think we live in that tension week to week, and we ask ourselves question of should we or shouldn't we? So I'm with you, Dylan. I don't know if there's anything coherent in there, but it's just been a ton of fun hanging out with you and learning more about you, and trying to do something different. And I think a big thing for me was I never wanted to look back and say, I wish I would have tried. And we've done it. I mean, the milestone that we've reached far surpasses a vast majority of podcasts, and that is to be celebrated. I think it's like there's this number 13 that most podcasts that are getting started don't make it past 13 episodes. And so yeah, it's been a ride. We've talked about maybe taking a little bit of a break for a few weeks or giving you some canned episodes that we have in our library. We're not sure. But you'll have something to look forward to on Wednesday. But I echo what Dylan said. Thank you all for those of you that have listened. I know some of you listen every single week. We've had some stinker episodes. We've had some that we look back and go, what the heck were we talking about? And some of you cherry pick and you pick episodes based on what you think you might be interested in. But it's been a ton of fun, and I feel very grateful, and I feel proud of what we've done here. I think it'll be really fun to look back. I could see us having a big get together and playing some clips, and just laughing in years to come. So yeah, I'm done.